Hello, everybody, and welcome to this event. Before giving some introductory words, I would like to show to everybody to present a video. This is just a very, let's say, fresh material which appeared. We all know that in 2002, United Nations established to celebrate on 21st of May the World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development. We will present now a video message by Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, which he made it on the World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development this year, a few days ago. And after this material, we will begin the event.
Culture is the flower of the human being, the fruit of our minds, the product of our traditions, the expression of our yearnings. Its diversity is wondrous, part of the rich tapestry of civilization. Culture is also a powerhouse, an employer of millions, an engine of economic progress, a force for social cohesion. The World Day for Cultural Diversity recognizes its great power. So does the proclamation of 2021 as the International Year of Creative Economy for Sustainable Development. But these observances fall at a difficult time for culture. The COVID-19 pandemic has upended the world and it has shaken the culture sector. Across the world, museums have been shuttered, music halls silenced, theatres gone dark, tourist sites abandoned, and other cultural pursuits set aside as societies cope with death and disruption. As vaccines generate hope, the world must ensure that pandemic recovery packages encompass the needs of cultural institutions, the arts, and all those who are part of the creative world. At a time of spreading hatred and intolerance, we must not only defend diversity, but invest in it. Societies today are multi-ethnic, multi-religious, and multicultural. This is a richness, not a threat. But we need to ensure that every community feels that their identity, their culture, is being respected. Let us all support culture and its power to advance dialogue and development for the benefit of all.
And with these very welcoming words, we will begin today the webinar about the dialogue, diversity, and freedom, and also the reacting to the Thai G-Man case. My name is Camelia Marin, and I am a human rights activist since October 2012, quite some years till now, and I am still going as a deputy director for Soteria International, which is an NGO based in Denmark. Of course, working in this human rights field, we aim to reestablish a constructive dialogue between state and social actors, together with the representatives of the spiritual communities. In few words, we can say that globalization demands inclusiveness, implying that people from different religious traditions or cultures must learn to share the same society under the protection of the law. As national laws and society has local historic and cultural roots, it might fail to properly recognize unfamiliar religious practices with an unfamiliar cultural root. Very often, we can notice that conflicts or discrimination and non-tolerance stem from the lack of diversity and from the dichotomy created by the idea of being right or wrong in the belief. However, it is in fact very important to embrace diversity and to understand it in an inclusive and humanistic manner. After all, we all have the same origin as human beings, and diversity is nothing other than a great opportunity for enrichment. A few days ago, the Federation of World Peace and Love, FOPAL, celebrated during the World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development this year, and they are hosting a virtual event with the purpose to let cultural diversity lead us to a more fulfilling intellectual, emotional, moral, and spiritual life. Dr. Hong, the president of FOPL, in the introduction of the event, mentioned that consciousness is the eye of the soul. Also, he mentioned that with conscience in our hearts, we will appreciate the beauty of cultural diversity and engage in understanding, dialogue, and exchange in a calm and peaceful manner. He also said that it is a manner of conscious to appreciate, respect, and learn from other culture. Considering the times and crisis that we are facing now regarding all this coronavirus and so on, we are, for example, we can say that people are searching much more for the depth of their hearts. They are searching to find the inner peace and harmony. And in the words of Dr. Hong that he used in the introduction of their event, people are placing more and more emphasis on the power of spirituality. We can say that the need now is to put the heart before other things or ideas. Also, we see nowadays that many questions and problems related to how tolerance, acceptance, and understanding of others, freedom of consciousness, thoughts, and belief affects the application of fundamental human rights on both a societal and institutional level. And we could notice that through several events and informations that they are, I can say, very happily delivered and shared by the Taiji Men team, they are encouraging all of us to start looking for peace and love. Going back in history, we find several references in spiritual traditions, cultures, about the importance to put first the heart or the coherence of the heart, concordia. And my desire to bring some examples, so I will just give two examples now. And in the ancient Western philosophy, Pascal considered the heart as a cognitive faculty, able to unify key operations of will and intellect without finally collapsing into either. The French author and intellectual René Guénon, who was an influential figure in the domain of metaphysics, referred to the heart as the center through which a world can open to all that transcends it. We can see that actually the search for going in the heart and blossoming spirituality was since very long, and also we observed that Taiji Men was very active in this direction. We can also say that the violation of freedom of conscience expressed in civil society through government restrictions or through popular hostility against freedom of religion or belief are a significant factor of tension, conflicts, and sometimes even wars. Quoting Dr. Hong, governments should take a stance for human rights protection and encourage for development of multiculturalism, and they should not use laws or taxation to curb people's freedom to pursue culture. Only freedom and human rights will allow a culture to develop and flourish. In the case of Taiji Men, their human rights and freedoms were violated by states' representatives. After years of investigation and court trials, on July 13, 2007, the Supreme Court found Taiji Men not guilty of fraud, tax evasion, or violation of tax codes. Taijimen's Shifu and Dizi, who were illegally detained, also received national compensations for wrongful imprisonment. Yet, the Taxation Bureau continues to issue unjustified tax bills to Taijimen and later even transferred the case to the Administrative Enforcement Agency. Taijimen land and assets have been illegally seized and abducted. The case is still ongoing, and we will refer to this case of Taijimen during this webinar. And in the very beginning, we will have two short materials, the video materials, to present the perspective of other people around the world about Taijimen community. And in the second one, the perspective of police regarding the Taijimen case. We'll start now with the first video material, the perspective of people around the world regarding Taijimen community.
Over the past 50 years, Taijimen Dizi have been not only practicing Qigong to improve themselves physically, mentally, and spiritually, but also conducting various forms of cultural exchanges to spread the ideas of conscience, love, and peace. Taijimen has never done any fundraisers or accepted any public donations. Taijimen Shifu and Dizi have self-funded trips to 101 nations and presented over 3,000 performances to foster a culture of peace.
For the past 35 years since its founding, your esteemed organization has upheld its objectives of loyalty, filial piety, love of the country, and love of society.
Taijimen is an ancient Menpai of Qigong and martial arts, passed down from generation to generation. It's like a big warm family. All Dizi are energetic and healthy, physically and mentally. Under Zhang Menzhen's leadership, the Dizi not only practice self-cultivation, but also spread kindness to help the world. Through international culture exchanges, they foster love for the world, promoting the idea of love and peace worldwide.
Every time we see Taijimen, we see energy, warmth, and love. We all admire Dr. Hong's compassion and would like to see Taijimen practice this worldwide. Let Taiwan stand out and let the world come in.
Furthermore, under the Zhang Menren's leadership, Taijimen has been actively promoting Taiwan all over the world as a non-government organization, bringing Taiwan to the international forefront. In the future, with Dr. Hong's leadership, I hope that Taijimen will continue to work with the government. Let us use our positive influence and move Taiwan forward with continued progress. Let the world see Taiwan.
Let me tell you, it's very emotional. And for me, it's been a great experience. Having a World Summit for Love and Peace, this is what the world needs. So I want to commend you, and I want to somehow show you my support and the support of the Dominican people.
We really appreciate this ceremony because it has to do with the most important values that my country has embraced.
A very simple golden round shaped bell like this can change the world if our heart goes with that sound, the sound of world peace and love.
Truly inspiring, and I hope that I will be able to live to the message that Dr. Hong has brought us tonight. Thank you.
Taijimen understands this, that our conduct must mirror our words, must match our sentiments, and examples of the kind before you today are pointers in the direction in which we should travel.
This is the efforts of this organization to inspire humanity into truly treading a path that would be sustainable and that will promote well-being for all life forms and happiness for the human being.
Although Taijimen Shifu and Dizi have been persecuted for over 2 decades, they continue to foster love, peace, and conscience around the world. The Taiwanese government should redress injustices against Taijimen and truly respect this precious cultural group, which has been a great cultural advocate for Taiwan.
And as you could see, as I said, people around the world, I referred that beyond the social position, the, let's say, the profession that we have or the knowledge that we're assimilating during time, beyond all of them, we are human beings. And the appreciation for Taijimen community was all around the world from human beings. And now we have a more, let's say, direct perspective, which is offered from the police. Please, let's share the video.
太极门一直积极协助政府部门，尤其是台北市政府跟台北市警察局啊，办理非常多的宣导公益活动啊。对于的太极门这样积极入世的一个公益团体，我们非常的感谢。
我们太极门了哈，他们这个表演呢，能够来赞助这个活动非常有意义，因为今天是这个中区的警民联欢了。一方面，我想就是向我们这个非常辛劳的警察。表示这个致敬。
太极门是一个非常健康正面的哈，强壮身心，强壮体格。那么从小让他们不但是四肢的强壮之外，还有身心上一个很正面、很健康的一个发展。这样一个成长的过程呢，以后都是一个国家之栋梁。
我觉得洪师傅这个人呢是非常了不起的人。能够做这种事情，这个在我们这个社会里面呢是很难得的。这个假如能普及到世界各国去啊，我们世界一定会带来更好的和平。
Thank you very much for sharing these 2 videos. And after having so appreciative perspective upon Taijimen, we could wonder what exactly can happen in this case, or what was at the base of having such a situation, and that Taijimen people were, after so many years, still having problems with, let's say, the legality, even though it's only about the tax situation. For this, we have today with us several guests, and we will begin now with Mrs. Daniela Bovolenta, which is the author for Bitter Winter magazine, and she will speak about the Bitter Winter and Taijimen tax case. Daniela Bovolenta edited some translations of texts on the history and sociology of religions. She has been collaborating with CESNUR for years. She owns a consulting firm and company and writes articles for the online newspaper Bitter Winter. She is particularly interested in issuing concerning religious freedom and the persecution of Christians in the world. Now we kindly invite you to tell us about the Bitter Winter and Taijimen tax case.
Thank you. This webinar is part of the events for the 2021 United Nations World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development, which was commemorated on 21st of May. The day was instituted in 2002, but the process leading to the proclamation started in 2001 after the destruction of the Buddhas of Bamyan by the Taliban in Afghanistan. This destruction, according to some reports, was completed on 21st of May 2001, although started in March. The Buddhas of Bamyan were two giant statues of the Buddha carved into a cliff in central Afghanistan, dating back to the 6th century current era and regarded as masterpieces of the late Gandhara Buddhist art. The tallest statue was 55 meters high, 180 feet, and the smallest one was 38 meters high, 125 feet. Abdul Wali, the Taliban minister for the propagation of virtue and the prevention of vice, declared that the statues were pagan idols and had them smashed with artillery fire and by detonating anti-tank mines. The Taliban's foreign minister told the media that despite the rumors to the contrary, the destruction was a purely religious issue and was not a retaliation against foreign sanctions. The Taliban regime cannot tolerate the existence of religious minorities and cultural diversity. Destroying a visual symbol of diversity, and a famous one, was a statement that shocked the world, more powerful than any speech. The same year, 2001, Swiss historian Jean-François Mayer, one of Europe's leading scholars of new religious movements, published an article in the Swiss daily newspaper La Liberté with a title mentioning Les Talibans de la République, the Taliban of the French Republic. The article was about the destruction by the police in France of a giant statue that members of a new religious movement, the Omis religion of the Mandarom, had erected to their founder. The artistic value of the statue was obviously not comparable with the Buddhas of Bamyan, yet the message and visual narrative were similar. Religious diversity, particularly in the shape of the group stigmatized in France as a sect cult, was not tolerated. Bitter Winter is a magazine devoted to religious liberty and human rights. We became well known internationally for our coverage of mainland China with exclusive news, videos, and photos. For instance, the section on China of the yearly report of the US Department of State on Religious Liberty, released this month, mentioned Bitter Winter 85 times. In 2019, Chinese authorities destroyed the largest cliff-carved statue of Guanyin in the world, in the Hebei province. Although the whole area had been closed to the public by the police, one of our brave citizen reporters managed to enter and capture on video the moment the statue was destroyed. Our exclusive pictures appeared in the front page of several international daily newspapers, including in Taiwan. From December 2020, Bitter Winter added an international section covering religious liberty issues outside the mainland China. We cannot cover every single violation of freedom of religion or belief in the world, and mainly focus on some issues we believe to be crucial. One is the Taiji Mentas case in Taiwan, to which we have devoted no less than 25 articles. I am sure that some of our readers wonder why we publish so often about a case where, after all, no blood was spilled and nobody died, while the world is full of people killed because of their faith. The World Day commemorating the destruction of the Buddhas of Bamyan suggests the answer. No human being was killed when the Buddhas were destroyed, but history, tradition, memory, and respect for diversity were all killed on that tragic day. The Mandarom incident in France, smaller as it was, showed that the danger may also come from democratic states and Taliban of the Republic, which are intolerant of diversity for secular rather than religious reasons. In Taiwan, we at Bitter Winter saw at work Taliban of the National Tax Bureau or Taliban of the Administrative Enforcement Agency. They also expressed their intolerance by attacking a visual symbol of freedom and diversity, land they confiscated that was intended for a Taijimen self-cultivation center. Our extensive coverage of a tax incident may seem unprecedented, but in fact, it is a 25-year-long persecution of a peaceful spiritual movement and the massive discriminatory use of taxes as a tool of discrimination that is unprecedented in a democratic country such as Taiwan. The Taijimen case is internationally exemplary and important, and yes, we plan to continue our campaign about it. Our voice will not be silenced until the voice of justice will speak and solve the case. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniela. Very good synthesis of things regarding Bitter Winter. And now we will go to the next speaker today, which is Professor Massimo Introvigne. He will speak about the Taijimen tax case happened. Sorry, he will speak about why the Taijimen case happened, a view from Europe. Regarding Professor Introvigne, I can say that he is a founder and the managing director of CESNUR, the Center for Studies on New Religions. Having the experience of a lawyer and professor of sociology, he collaborated with OSCE, the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, and also with the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, monitoring problems of religious liberty on a worldwide scale. With such a vast experience in religious field, since 2018, Professor Introvigne is editor-in-chief of the daily magazine on religious and human rights in China, Bitter Winter, which is published by CESNUR. We heard from Daniela a part of the details regarding Bitter Winter, and now we'll hear the perspective of Professor Introvigne regarding why the Taijimen tax case happened, a view from Europe.
Thank you. And one of my old professors said that when you want to understand contemporary case, you should always start from the Roman Empire. And I believe that may be more true than somebody else may believe. All Christians who read their Bible have encountered the word publican. The publicans in Jesus' time were people believed to be so corrupted that the fact that Jesus managed to convert some of them, and from dishonest they became honest people, that was a great publicity for Christianity. If Christians can even convert the publicans, they can convert pretty much everybody else. And one of the authors of the four Gospels Christians regard as canonical, Matthew, knew this story better than everybody else, because before being converted by Jesus and becoming one of the 12 apostles, Matthew was a publican himself. So the question is, who were the publicans? Why were they so unpopular? Why were they considered, their name was considered a synonym for dishonesty and corruption? Well, the publicans were basically the tax bureaucrats in the Roman Empire. Their position has not been invented by the empire, it has been created by the Republic. with a very original system called tax farming, which originally worked. The publicans were self-employed. They were not civil servants. They had to pay to become publican. And then they agreed with the central government a certain amount of taxes they are supposed to collect based on whether they were in a poor area, in a rich area, etc. And if they could collect more, whatever extra part of money they can collect, that became their bonus, and they pocketed it. As I say, it seen from our modern standards, it can seem a great system to encourage greed and dishonesty. Well, it eventually became this, but it was not this in the very beginning, because in the Roman Republic, the publicans were controlled by the Senate, and every taxpayer who felt it has been mistreated by the publicans could send his claims straight to the Senate in Rome. And if the publicans were found to have abused the taxpayers, they were executed, which created a strong incentive for them to be honest. But when the Republic ended, it was replaced by the Empire, and the Senate lost a lot of power, and surely lost its power to control and sanction dishonest bureaucrats, insofar as the bureaucrats reported directly to the imperial court. So at the time of Jesus, publicans, particularly in the Middle East, were already regarded as extremely dishonest people, abusing the citizens and the taxpayers, even if at the time of Jesus, the first emperors were still trying to keep the publicans in check. But with the decadence of the Roman Empire, publicans acquired an enormous power. Why? Because the Roman Empire went into a financial crisis. The emperors needed a lot of money to finance their military operations, and the Roman Empire went into a demographic crisis, meaning there were less taxpayers, but they needed more taxes, not less taxes. And so they resorted to what government always do. They raised the taxes, and the emperors looked the other way when taxpayers became extremely corrupted, and they did everything possible to steal money from the citizens. And of course, they sent money to the emperor in Rome, but through this bonus system, they also kept a lot of money for themselves. Now, as modern economists would have easily predicted, when citizens no longer trust the tax system because people like the publicans are too corrupted, what happens is citizens became highly creative in inventing ways not to pay the taxes. And the end result was that Rome didn't get more taxes, it got less taxes. In fact, in the last 100 years, before the end of the Roman Empire, the tax revenues of Rome went down 90%, despite the fact that the publicans had become much more strict. Of course, the end of the Roman Empire didn't happen only because of corruption. The financial crisis was a big part of the crisis of the Roman Empire. But as I said before, one of the main reasons was demography. If there are less people, there are less taxes. But surely the corruption of the publicans which destroyed the trust of the citizens in the tax system was an important factor. And there was also a factor of religious liberty, because in the period when Christians were persecuted, if you were a Christian, you were in a way fair game. So the tax collector, the publicans will target you more than the others, and your complaints were not heard. So Taiwan doesn't use the tax farming system of the Roman Empire, but the Taiji story is largely a story of publicans. It's in the sense the word has now acquired, which is not technical. When we say publican, we mean rogue tax bureaucrats. In Taiwan, both the National Tax Bureau and the National Enforcement Agency emerge from the Taiji story as being full of publicans, meaning full of people who are very much interested in getting the bonuses and in assert their own power, and not very much interested in the human rights of the citizens. And as it happened in the Roman Empire, spiritual minorities are particularly targeted, and we saw in the videos how Taiji is a spiritual minority highly praised by the highest political and police authorities, but targeted by this clique of rogue bureaucrats. I will conclude by saying that recently I examined a very extraordinary document, a recent document. It's a request by the Hsinchu branch of the Administrative Enforcement Agency to the Shilin branch, and what they want to split the performance credits, meaning the bonuses for auctioning the properties of Dr. Hong and Taiji. And this document is recent, is dated March 2, 2020, and is stamped both by the local administrative enforcement officer and by a chief administrative enforcement officer called Li Kui-Fen. So, concluding, the tax problems of the Roman Empire have a wider sociological significance. It shows that rogue tax bureaucrats tell their governments that they work to make, of course, themselves, but also the governments richer. But that's a very short-term argument, because in the long run, rogue tax bureaucrats persecuting the citizens make their government, their countries poorer, and may even ended up destroying them. Corrupted tax collectors were among those who destroyed the Roman Empire. And if such a large empire as the Roman Empire could collapse, any state or government can follow the same course. And this is a lesson for modern state, and a lesson Taiwan should seriously consider when dealing with the Taiji case. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Introvigne, for your very interesting explanation. And now we'll go to our next speaker, Mr. Willy Fautré. He is the director and co-founder of Human Rights Without Frontiers, and he will speak with us about the Tax and Legal Reform League. Willy Fautré is a lecturer in universities in the field of religious freedom and human rights. He has written many articles in university, journals, and academic publications, held lectures in conferences, testified before interstate organizations, and given interviews to international media. He is a member of the International Consortium on Law and Religious Studies. He has extensive experience in freedom of religion and belief around the world. He has carried out fact-finding missions on human rights and religious freedom in more than 25 countries. And as we are collaborating since I joined Soteria, I can say that he is one of those who really inspired me to become an activist in the human rights field, because he's really very active, no matter when and where he finds a good word for those in need. Please, Willy.
Yeah.
The floor is yours.
Thank you, Camelia, for your kind introductory words. It's in 2001 that UNESCO adopted the Universal Declaration on Cultural Diversity in the context that Daniela explained us a few minutes ago. 1 year later, in December 2002, the UN General Assembly, in a resolution, declared the 21st of May to be the World Day for Cultural Diversity, for Dialogue and Development. 2015, the second committee of the UN General Assembly unanimously adopted a resolution on culture and sustainable development, affirming culture's contribution to the 3 dimensions of sustainable development, acknowledging further the natural and cultural diversity of the world, and recognizing that cultures and civilizations can contribute to and are crucial enablers of sustainable development. This day that we are commemorating provides us with an opportunity to deepen our understanding of the values of cultural diversity, to promote human rights and fundamental freedoms. The case of Taijimen, a movement which is part of the cultural diversity in Taiwan, is emblematic in this regard. For a quarter of a century, this minority has been persecuted by the National Tax Administration. Although it has never evaded taxation, but it has always refused to pay undue taxes or to accept a so-called friendly settlement, which would have been an admission of guilt and a treason of its moral principles. Now I will show that Taijimen followed a very unusual path and a very inspiring example, moving from the status of victims to the status of defender of victims, and especially about the taxation system in Taiwan. Taxation of the income of individuals, associations, and private or public companies is a mechanism that is undoubtedly necessary in a democratic society to guarantee the common good, to finance public and social services, to support investments and innovation. However, taxation must be fair and transparent if one wants the citizens to abide by its rules. When confidence in the taxation system is lost because of corruption, cheating, or abuse, the rule of law and democracy are in danger, and society must react. This is the situation that Taijimen has painfully experienced as a victim, and against which it has decided to react by defending other victims. In 2017, Taijimen took the initiative to defend the well-being of the Taiwanese society and asked a number of prestigious experts for assistance and supports for the creation of a tax and legal reform league. The objective of the league was to help victims of the National Taxation Bureau, to inform Taiwanese taxpayers about their legitimate rights, to invite scholars and experts to propose reforms of the system, and to check the work of public servants, identify and sanction those who have abused their power in total impunity. Some pioneers of the Tax and Legal Reform League are worth mentioning. For example, Professor Wang Chungji, distinguished professor at the Department of Financial and Economic Law of National Chung-Cheng University in Taiwan, and also former member of the Presidential Office Human Rights Consultative Committee in Taiwan. Also Dr. Chih-Kung, chairman of the Taiwan Association for the Study of Finance Criminal Law. Professor Hu Qingqing, associate professor of Department of Law at Alithia University. Mr. Chen Yanang, the chairman of Taipei branch of Taiwan Society. And Lin Fulong, known as Dr. Lucas Lin, contact professor in Taiwan, Osnabrück University in Germany. These are really experts in this area, and they accepted to provide their expertise to Taijimen. The Tax Legal Reform League does not only criticize the management of tax collection by the National Taxation Bureau and the abuse or of its disproportionate power, but it also makes constructive proposals to remedy it. Here are the main points of its roadmap, which includes the compliance with the existing fiscal rules considered to be fair, and the regulations that need to be reformed, completed, or abolished. So here's the roadmap of the League. First, the taxation should have a clear legal basis and strictly comply with legal implementation procedures, which are not in breach with the Constitution, which is not always the case. Two, the taxpayers should first receive a taxation proposal that they can contest with arguments before it is officially issued. Three, in case of disagreement, the burden of proof should be shifted from the taxpayers to the tax authority. Four, if the tax authorities cannot prove that the taxpayer has intentionally evaded taxation, they should not impose a penalty. Five, the Appeals Committee of the Ministry of Finance dealing with complaints of taxpayers should be composed of independent experts and scholars in order to be fair and impartial. Six, to protect the people's right to appeal a decision. The rule that, and I quote, half the existing, the existing situation, the rule that, and I quote, half of the tax must be paid or guaranteed before filing an appeal. Otherwise, the appeal will be referred to the enforcement agency, end of the quote, should be abolished. 6, if the tax amount cannot be determined within 5 years from the issuance of the original tax bill, it should not be allowed to be reassessed. 7, the insurance law should be reviewed as well and amended by experts and scholars because it is full of loopholes, one of them being the lack of independence and impartiality in the elections of insurance officers and tax judges, in addition to unreasonable tax deadlines. Last but not least, the system of tax bonuses that was stressed again by Dr. Massimo Introvigne, granted to officers of the National Tax Bureau and the Enforcement Agency, which are proportional to amounts collected through taxes and auctions, lead to undue fiscal and judicial harassment and should also be repealed. Through its quest for justice for victims of the National Taxation Bureau, the Tax and Legal Reform League of Taijimen contributes to the protection of cultural diversity and moral development of society in Taiwan, and abuses by some administration against religious and belief minorities. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Willy, for your presentation. And now we'll go further to Dr. Alessandro Amicarelli. Attorney Alessandro Amicarelli is the current chairman and spokesman of the European Federation for Freedom of Belief, FOB, as many of us we know it. He is a frequent speaker at academic and legal events and conferences and meetings held in the different countries and at different places. Dr. Amicarelli has extensively lectured in human rights, taught courses on the international protection of human rights, and he has a strong interest for minorities and religious freedom of both new religious movements and traditional minority religious and spiritual groups and of their members. Dr. Amicarelli will introduce in his talk some Taijimen witnesses. Please, Dr. Amicarelli, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me well. Thank you, Camelia. Thank you to all the previous speakers for the very interesting remarks. Let me, as Massimo recalled the Romans, I want to recall the classic Greek literature and philosophy. I want to recall the principle of isonomia, which was very important in Athens, which was the principle of equality before the law. This is a very important principle for a country like Taiwan. Taiwan has changed a lot over the past 25 years. So Taiwan is no more the Taiwan of the past. It's a wholly different country. And we all in the West and many NGOs also praise the level of development and respect of human rights in Taiwan. Those who, like us, most of us have had the pleasure to visit Taiwan in the past, we knew that from the perspective of the human rights and freedom of belief, a lot was done in Taiwan. And it's very common to see a lot of churches, temples, mosques, at times also one next to the other. So there is a very important and increasing level of respect of human rights and freedom of belief in Taiwan. Because of this, and because of a general attitude of Taiwanese people towards honesty, it is very shocking to know about what happened to Taijimen. As European Federation for Freedom of Belief, in connection with the CESNUR, Human Rights Without Frontiers, Bitter Winter, and other NGOs and associations dealing with religious freedom, we've been doing our bit for letting people know about the Taijimen case. That Taijimen is praised by honorable presidents, former presidents, prime ministers, ministers, very people in the highest ranks of the police for what they do for what Dr. Hong does in Taiwan and for Taiwan, making Taijimen ambassador of Taiwan in the world, it's shocking to see that this case has lasted for over 25 years. The principle of certainty of the law makes it clear that where Taijimen won all the cases in court up to the highest levels, there can be no difference for the year 1992 tax case. So we all hope that this case may be resolved. This is the reason why we keep doing these webinars. We keep writing about Taijimen case, and this case must be stopped. So we appeal to all the Taiwanese, all the good Taiwanese people to do their bit, to do something to help Taijimen, because Taijimen is doing a lot for Taiwan and for the Taiwanese people as well. So my role now is to introduce a video prepared by a Taijimen called A Dream Delayed But Not Forgotten. And after the video, we will have 6 testimonies by witnesses that will be talking about their own experiences with or in Taijimen. So I think we can now go with the video, A Dream Delayed But Not Forgotten, and see you later.
是美好的曾经，多少年风吹日晒和雨淋，多少年午夜梦回总心情，多少年心血片片碎满地，多少年青丝白头人老去。
I remember Shifu liked that place a lot. It had gorgeous views. We would sit there with Shifu and talk about how we would use the place for our Qigong practice.
Shimu was very considerate and said, if we get our villa ready, when overseas Dizi come back, instead of finding hotels to stay, they will be able to stay in this villa.
I can imagine that if this place had been developed according to Shifu's plan, it would have been a wonderful place.
I feel that Shifu would miss this the most.
Speaking about this, my heart aches. It really aches. Because it's ruined like this. Now we have no way to save this place anymore.
Who Who can restore our 25 wasted years? Who can restore this place for us? When I take a closer look, I found many meditation mats, and I felt so upset. And how would Shifu feel if he sees this? He has put his heart and soul into this place. During the first criminal trial, Judge Zhao Zirong asked Shifu to state his opinion. With tears in his eyes, Shifu said that as contemporary Zhangmenren of Taijimen, he would safeguard Taijimen and his Dizi with his life and everything.
Regrettably, the NTB simply believed that the case involved tax evasion based on the prosecutor's indictment and imposed a restriction in 1997, preventing Taijimen from disposing the villa. At the time, the validity of the tax bills had not been verified and the criminal decision had not been issued. How could they issue the tax bills? How could they impose double restrictions on the property? That was illegal.
Why do we say the government has been persecuting us with both legal and tax measures? At the beginning of the criminal case, the prosecutor seized all the assets of Zhang Menren and his wife, including a few $1,000s in his bank account, leaving him with no money. The tax bureau, based on the prosecutor's indictment, issued sky-high tax bills without investigating the matter. Zhang Menren did not have any money left to provide as collateral for the tax bills. Then an enforcement order would be carried out and his property could be sold. However, the tax bills have been invalid from the beginning and should not have been issued. For 23 years and 165 days, Zhang Menren and his wife were unable to use this place. This property had been seized for such a long time, but Zhang Menren still had to pay the property taxes. The government had seized the property for over 23 years, and now this house is dilapidated and lies in ruins.
According to the current regulations, you cannot reapply for a construction permit. It's impossible to demolish and rebuild the house. If you want to renovate, it will cost more than to rebuild.
Very moving video. I think that we can now move on with the testimonies. The first testimony is by Mr. Jim Chung. Please, Mr. Chung. We can't hear you. Please unmute yourself.
Since the 919 Ms. Huang case last year, there have been several instances of police search and interrogation that were illegal. The law is incapable of enforcing itself. No matter how the law is written, it will not be able to fully regulate or prevent the problem of police officers abusing their authority. We have developed a more tolerant attitude toward law enforcement authorities in recent decades, and the law as a whole tends to protect officials' rights. However, I believe that we now need to re-examine the system in terms of human rights protection. We should repeal laws and rules that protect cops and replace them with laws and rules that safeguard people's rights. In a democracy that maintains the rule of law and safeguards human rights, this is a course we should adopt. Over the past 25 years, Taijimen, Shifu, and Dizi have been persecuted as a result of the criminal and tax cases of injustice. Hou Kuan-ren is the mastermind behind it all. However, he has never been punished for his misdeeds. Initially, administrative sanctions were to be imposed, but it was argued that the statute of limitations had expired. Therefore, no disciplinary action was conducted. He was not held criminally accountable for his wrongdoings or liable for the state compensation. The defendants in Taijimen case got state compensation for their unlawful detention, which is now known as criminal compensation. But is the injustice against Taijimen only limited to the unlawful detention? Other rights of Taijimen, Shifu, and Dizi were also violated in this case. Prosecutor Hou Kuan-ren, for example, broke the rule that a prosecution probe should be kept private. However, he faces no repercussions for his actions. This is why I suggest that government personnel who disobey the law, abuse their power, or are negligent face unique, all-encompassing disciplinary actions. This is a 139-1 crime. After researching similar criminal charges in over 10 countries, I came up with this idea. Whether Ms. Huang was holding the poster or not, or even if she was, she did not commit any crimes. It was not a felony to hold a placard on a street corner. That was just her right to free speech. The cops interrogated her, claiming that they had caught her red-handed, and took her away after she had put the poster away. Li Guifen, they alleged, had filed a complaint against her. Then we will be able to sue Li Guifen for defamation. How did the system conspire to frame Ms. Huang, from Li Guifen, the enforcement officer, to the police and the prosecutor's office? We expect that by filing a lawsuit against the Guifan, we will be able to find out the facts. We need to know why the cops and the law enforcement agency are attempting to frame Ms. Huang. Now, it appears that judicial officers have banded together against those who criticize them, resulting in a clash between citizens and law enforcement agents. In fact, this is a negative social trend. Why did law enforcement set up Ms. Huang? What are the ramifications of their actions? What should we do to ensure that similar issues do not arise in the future? Based on the case of Ms. Huang and other instances of police power abuse, Taijimen, Ms. Huang, and we lawyers need to figure out a new order, new norms, and new laws, as well as to repeal obsolete, unjust laws and regulations that violate human rights protection. We need to assist people in resolving issues with the government by amending the legislation to ensure that good people are protected and that law enforcement officers are not allowed to be illegal or irresponsible in enforcing the law.
Thank you. We have now a new witness, Mr. Jason Cherng. Please.
Thank you, Alex. Hi, my name is Jason. I was a visiting researcher at MIT, and I work as a business consultant now. My family has been in Taijimen for 29 years, and we have been very happy. Dr. Hong is the person who talked to and cared for me the most in my life. Like fellow brothers and sisters, I'm one of the happy flowers in Taijimen Garden, where we enjoy the irrigation of caring and chi from our Shifu Dr. Hong. Our best appreciation to him will be to live our lives like blooming flowers and spread the seeds of love to grow more beautiful flowers. I'm always so touched to tears when I see experts and scholars, home and abroad, speak up for Taijimen unjust case. This reminded me of what Dr. Hong told: to manifest justice and stop evil is to promote righteousness. Indeed, to promote goodness is like making a gift of flowers while your hands stay a lingering fragrance. To promote goodness is also like the wind is beneficial to spread the fragrance of flowers. I'm very grateful to all the speakers on the forum. You are the kind of wind to spread the goodness. Thank you. I love to travel because I can admire and enjoy different cultures and learn the wisdom of others. I have joined many trips and visited 19 countries with Taijimen Culture Goodwill Group led by Dr. Hong. I attended UN NGO annual conferences, Sydney Olympics, and various international summits and forums. I conducted a martial arts performance and gave speeches in famous universities in USA, such as UC Berkeley, Columbia University, City University of New York, and University of San Francisco, etc., to share Taijimen's spiritual culture. During the journeys, Dr. Hong reminded us, take a look at these countries and their cultures, and look at our own. We should then ponder how to treat our country, our family, and ourselves. These cultural exchanges, in my understanding, are crucial to promoting state development and opportunity for world peace. Today, what I would like to share with you is the amazing Tai Chi culture and the conscious culture which Dr. Hong has shared across the world during his visit to the 5 continents. This is also the mastery that Taijimen deeds have implemented in their daily lives. Tai Chi culture, which encompasses the philosophy of the universe and the mystery of life, is a wisdom passed down through generations by ancient sages of 6,000 years. It is a treasure of human civilization and a very important spiritual and cultural asset of the world. Dr. Hong has devoted all his life to share it with his deeds and like-minded people, and has made a far-reaching influence. I heard Jigme Wai Tinley, the former Prime Minister of Bhutan, said to Dr. Hong, "You are the citizen of this world." And Dr. Charles Musieka, the former president of International Association of Educators for World Peace, praising Dr. Hong being the Confucius of modern world. On the international stage, Taijimen is one of the most popular stars of Taiwan and the world. However, Taiwanese government does not cherish and maintain its national treasure. This is much like people do not know that conscience treasure is inherent to them. Even those who are aware, but cannot get rid of the habitual nature. For years, the government has utilized many illegal means to subject Taijimen to bitter winter aggressions. Dr. Hong refused to accept the illegal compromise. Instead, he led his deeds to take a firm stand on these lengthy legal challenges. Facing the unreasonable government, he would rather spend 25 years to uncover the full criminal record of the corrupt officers. He hopes that through such experience, more people and officers will be awakened. He led his deeds and experts to help reform the injustice of the government and rescue Taiwan with the movement of conscience awakening. Many people have been rescued and encouraged. And we believe that our persistence would finally bring forth a just judicial and tax system for Taiwan. With the world in turmoil, Dr. Hong is working even harder to reach people's hearts through inspiring cultural exchanges and to touch the longing deep in people's mind with utmost kindness and sincerity. He wants to unite more positive and uplifting energy to awaken and elevate people's conscience. He points to a path for people to help themselves and others, and would like people to bow the spiritual noise up. I feel that his earnest messages are not only warning bells to exalt the word, but also sounding trumpets for immediate actions. Dr. Hong once told me that the wisdom of yin and yang in Tai Chi culture can promote a virtuous cycle in the world. The two key points of yin and yang philosophy are to distinguish between yin and yang and to balance yin and yang. Whenever we face the tough challenges of issues of law and tax, he always reminds us to distinguish true from false, good from bad, right from wrong, and know the should and shouldn't. What impressed me the most is that when we were torn and exhausted, he told us to face everything with joy. It dawned on me that this is the inner balance of yin and yang, with the wisdom of no discrimination and the oneness that we are harmony with all beings in the universe. This experience furthered my understanding of conscience, from the behavioral level of moral discipline to the spiritual level of awakening of consciousness. The Taijimen unjust case exposed the grave failure of the government's gross human rights violations. The government has been hijacked by a faction of corrupt officers, while people's ignorance, fear, and indifference on law and tax contributed to the deterioration. In my opinion, a good government is not based on a myriad of strategy or decrees, but on a greater level of conscious awareness of civil servants who respect human rights. For example, the control yuan in Taiwan is responsible for impeachment and correction of administrative officers and protection of human rights. The Control Yuan carried out a thorough investigation in 2002 on prosecutor Hou Kuan-ren, who was responsible for the prosecution of Taijimen case, and concluded that Hou had violated due process on 8 major areas, such as the confidentiality during investigation. The Control Yuan referred the report to the Ministry of Justice for disciplinary actions and has listed the Taijimen case as a major human rights case in the 3rd general report of the Control Yuan on human rights protection. Among the cases that prosecutor Hou handled, such as the Zhou Rensheng case, the Ma Yingjiu case, and the Yunlin Western case, he had doctored the depositions in order to get convictions. Such a controversial prosecutor has not been disciplined. On the contrary, he was promoted to the Deputy Director General of the Agency Against Corruption in the Ministry of Justice. This revealed the unjust and unconscientious culture in Taiwan's government, in which the bureaucrats protect each other. The law can be upheld effectively when it is provided to civil servants who are willing to follow. This is much like the words of wisdom from Dr. Hong. You can get the benefits only when you practice them. It took me several years to apprehend that Dr. Hong's words merely point us to the direction of the truth. Yet, the true meaning is beyond the word. He would like for us to search within the answers that lie deep in our hearts. Somehow, Dr. Hong would know how far we have reached. This is the Zen of Taiji culture. This is my sharing. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for your passionate testimony, Jason. 谢谢. Next presentation, Dr. Chih-Kung Lin, please.
Please open the microphone.
We should have Dr. Lin.
Okay.
That's fine.
Thank you, Alex, and hello,
Thank
everyone. I am Chih-Kung. I joined Taijimen in 1996. I just graduated from medical school. That year, the Taijimen case began, and now it has lasted for 25 years. Becoming a Dizi of my Shifu is a turning point of my life, and I have become a person with a rich heart. Taijimen was found not guilty and not owing any taxes by the Supreme Court, but the NTB totally ignored the court decision, continued to issue illegal tax bills to Taijimen, and even forcefully confiscated Taijimen's property. In Taiwan, cases pending enforcement for back taxes and fees increased from 1.9 million in 2001 to 14 million in 2020. Since Taiwan has a population of 23 million, that means on average, 1 out of 2 people owed taxes or fees, which is not normal for a civilized country. Each year, the Legislative Yuan approves the Taxation Bureau's budgets of hundreds of millions of dollars for bonuses for tax officials without any legal basis, which incentivizes them to issue unreasonable tax bills, deterring foreign investment. On top of it, with wages falling back to what they were 20 years ago, birth rate ranking last globally, and 80% of the people distrusting the judicial system. Taiwan is regressing. If government officials lack conscience and have no respect for human rights, they will damage the country rather than make it prosper, even though they are highly educated. And such a government is a disgrace to democracy and the rule of law. I am a pathologist, and like a judge, I'm judging whether the lesion is benign or malignant. According to textbooks, this is related to viruses, genes, pollution, or others. After practicing Qigong, I realized that where the person is sick has a lot to do with the balance of his or her heart. The word disease can be divided into dis and ease, meaning one would get sick if he couldn't relax. And the disorder can be divided into dis and order, meaning one would get ill if one's lifestyle, behavior, and temper are a mess. Taiji Men is an ancient Menpai of Qigong, martial arts, and self-cultivation. It has inherited wisdom of Taoist philosophy. Shifu teaches his deeds to balance their physical, mental, and spiritual health by practicing Qigong and applying the wisdom of balance in their daily life. Qigong is also known as energy medicine. We generate energy through breathing. The level of one's energy depends on one's frequency, which is determined by one's heart. Therefore, one's heart determines one's energy level. The key to high-quality Qigong practice is not in the movements, but in the cultivation of the heart. The key to cultivating the heart lies in not the accumulation of knowledge, but in the elevation of the level of understanding of the truth. To obtain the profound understanding of the truth require an enlightened master's guidance so that one can acquire immense wisdom within one's limited time on earth. The balance of the heart has to do with not only one's health, but also one's happiness. I used to lack self-confidence because my family was poor when I was little. I used to be tense, and I would always work hard to accomplish a lot. I dared not to relax, and my chest often feel heavy because of my fear of poverty. I used to be stingy. I would pick the cheapest clothes, food, or coffee. These habits and my tendency to complain a lot caused tensions with my wife after I got married. But all these problems gradually went away after I started to practice Qigong. Over the years, Shifu has led his deeds to promote love and peace all over the world. He told us that to be a true volunteer, we need to take time off work and pay expenses out of our own pockets when going on cultural exchange trips. At first, I was hesitant to go on the trips because spending money was painful to me. But later, when I saw the audience responses toward our line dance performance, a great joy arose from the bottom of my heart that I have never felt before. I could feel the joy flowing throughout my whole body. It was then when I realized that making others happy brings great joy that money can't buy, and that there is a difference between the value and the price of something. Because I found an antidote for my heart, my body and mind became relaxed, and my chest no longer felt heavy. I hardly complained anymore, and it brought back the harmony in my marriage. But in 1996, Taiji Men was caught in the crossfire of the political purge, when Taiji Men leaders to bank accounts were fallen by the prosecutor. Their total balance was 610,000 NT dollars, but the prosecutor in his indictment falsely claimed there was 3.2 billion NT dollars. Taiji Men has never been a crime school, and this fact was confirmed by the Ministry of Education, the Administrative Court, and even the NTB in their official documents. Yet, the Taxation Bureau continued to tax Taiji Men as a crime school. That Foreign Finance Minister Xu Yuze once said, if human rights should be honored, then we can't impose taxes anymore. The rector of the Miaoli branch of the NTV Chen Hefa said, the cross ruling does not count. Former Finance Minister Zhang Shenghe even said, tax officials' pay is not high enough to foster a sense of honor. Moreover, the Taxation Bureau forged a document to illegally auction off the property of my Shifu's wife and attempted to cover it up by issuing a tax refund when the illegal action was discovered by a judge. In 2020, the administrative enforcement agents, knowing the tax bill was false, still executed an auction of the land intended to be the construction site of a Taijimen academy, and later confiscated the property after the auction failed. The series of illegal and unconstitutional acts were all committed by the corrupt government officials in Taiwan. Albert Einstein once said, as long as I have any choice, I will only stay in a country where political liberty, toleration, and equality of all citizens before the law are the rule. Political liberty implies liberty to express one's political views orally and in writing. Toleration, respect for any and every individual opinions. The Taijimen case exposed the monsters, the never-ending tax bills created under Taiwan's distorted tax system that was manipulated by unconscientious officials. Their evil hearts are cancerous and destructive to the people, Taiwan, and the world. But the 25-year journey to seek justice has not been in vain. On this journey, we have endured the persecution against us, got inspired by Shifu's boundless wisdom, courage, and persistence on the truth, and cherished the bonds between Shifu and Dizi. It serves as precious and ongoing cultural lessons. Taijimen Dizi will continue to fight for justice for themselves as well as the world peacefully, rationally, and legally. We hope through our collective efforts, we will keep the world from turning into hell. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share.
Thank you very much, Chih-Kung. Now, as we approach almost midnight in Taiwan, the next witness is Miss Erica Wu. Erica, the floor is yours.
Hi everyone, my name is Erica. I am 19 years old. I have learned from Dr. Hong, my Shifu of Taijimen, throughout my life, and I am forever grateful for the values and mindsets I've acquired. My Shifu has always taught me to be inclusive and understanding of all people. Therefore, whether in school or whenever I encounter people, I implement this value by respecting, listening, and being kind to people, which allows me to support and help others and form more meaningful relationships while having less conflicts or misunderstandings. This, of course, also includes embracing cultural diversity. We have even traveled to 101 countries to share positivity and conduct cultural exchanges. In 2016, I traveled with Taijimen to Portugal for a cultural festival where different culture groups came together and presented our cultures. And during that festival, I was mesmerized by the beauty of our differences, including the languages we speak, the dances we would perform, the feelings we celebrate, and the history we tell. However, what touched me the most was what we shared: our passion, dedication, love, pride, and so on. I've then realized that, yes, humans around the world are truly diverse, but something ties us together. And from what I have learned from Shifu, it is conscience. Instead of dividing ourselves from our differences, we should respect our differences and the conscience within every one of us so that they can guide us through. In 1966,
my Shifu established Taijimen Qigong Academy, aiming to enhance people's physical, mental, and spiritual health and well-being. He even gave up his promising career. And we have never accepted donations. Both Shifu and Dizi use our own expenses to travel the world to spread love and peace. And for me, initially, I wanted to travel abroad just because I wished to learn about the world and to share what I can provide with others. But could this alone motivate Shifu to dedicate his life on this for decades? As I discovered the answer, I have realized, reflecting Shifu's teachings of the yin and yang philosophy, one cannot understand yin without yang. One cannot understand the importance of love without experiencing pain. In 1996, my Shifu was falsely accused of fraud and tax evasion. The Taxation Bureau issued tax bills out of nowhere towards Taijimen according to the illegal indictment based on false information. The media was misled by the illegal prosecutor and spread false, biased rumors against Taijimen. And this drew upon extreme negativity, faced not just by Shifu, but also our brothers and sisters, including my parents. Many of the people we knew turned their back on us due to misunderstandings that arose from the fake news. We were feeling all kinds of negative emotions, including anger, sadness, hopelessness, and frustration. And this made us question, does the truth even matter when everyone else believes in a lie? Well, it does, says my Shifu. Our conscience within us is the ultimate guide of telling us right from wrong. To break free of lies and falsehood, the truth must be revealed. Shifu remained hopeful and led us to use wisdom to turn these negativities into motivation and action towards fighting this injustice. Not only should we fight against this injustice, but we also need to show them even more loudly who we are and what we do, which is enhancing people's physical, mental, and spiritual health and well-being through love and peace. I then understand more fully what Shifu has led us been doing. Only with understanding and experiencing pain, including being misunderstood and disrespected, that I truly understand the importance of love, peace, conscience, and their resulting respect and mutual understanding in the world. Since then, many brothers and sisters before me have spent day and night for years fighting this case in the court. And finally, in 2007, the Supreme Court finally brought us justice with the ruling of Taijimen as no crime, no tax, and no violation of the Tax Collection Act. The court has certified that Taijimen was never supposed to pay taxes and even deemed that the indictment was invalid. Yet, the tax bills are still based on the invalid indictment that are still present. This is extremely outrageous. Even when the tax bills of 5 years of 1991, 1993 to 1996 were zeroed in 2019, the tax bill of the year 1996 the 1992 still persists until today. This means that the fabricated Taijimen case has lasted for 25 years since 1996. This means that there is something wrong with the current government system of Taiwan. The government is not consistent within and throughout different sectors. One of the inconsistencies is the obvious Supreme Court ruling that the Taxation Bureau does not account for. A governmental official was even caught on camera saying what the court ruled doesn't count, obviously showing that the Taxation Bureau exempted itself from the Supreme Court's ruling. Another one of the inconsistencies is that when all 6 but one of the tax bills were zeroed, when all tax bills are based on the same evidence. This is as inconceivable as when an apple is cut into 6 pieces, one piece turned into an orange. These inconsistencies have prolonged not just the Taijimen case, but injustice upon the society. Justice delayed is justice denied. when the current governmental system provides no way to fully end Taijimen's state-induced suffering, how could the system serve its people and uphold justice? Hence, many members of Taijimen have joined the fight for reform as volunteers of the Tax and Legal Reform League in hopes of reforming the system to truly uphold justice. Without my shifu, I don't know if I will have the courage to speak here today. However, I believe shifu do not wish anyone will need to endure this kind of pain ever again. Since the beginning, my shifu has had such a wide conscience that is willing to accept the world and its diversity. Although with the diversity comes with clashes and inevitable misunderstandings, his conscience led us through with wisdom. His conscience is what I aspire to have, to embrace cultural diversity, which is why I am here today, because I also will not allow anyone else to experience this pain ever again. We then continue to share the concept of conscience and hope to awaken the conscience in everyone's heart so that our world can move towards true peace. However, as much as we try to uphold and promote the concept of conscience, when the system does not respect nor allow this right of ours, our efforts are limited, diminished, and even disrespected by the government. From the false accusations to the spreading of fake news, the injustices faced by Taijimen highlighted more significantly the importance of respect that allows for cultural diversity and further dialogue and development. Only when the Taijimen case is resolved could there be truly respected cultural diversity, dialogue and democracy, and development of the country's protection of justice. This is exactly why the Taiwanese government needs to respect and listen to its people by redressing the Taijimen case and implementing reforms of the systems that allowed it to happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Erica. Now we have one more witness, Mr. Jason Liu. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Alex. Yeah, thank you for having me here today. Okay, switch a little bit. Okay. So my name is Jason too. Yeah, I'm Jason from San Jose. So that's 9 years ago, due to a job offer, my family moved from Taiwan to Bay Area. Now I am a director of engineering in a design company. For a person who has never worked overseas, it's been a great experience to work together with the talents from all over the world. In Bay Area, where competition is integrated in the workforce, cultural diversity is strongly emphasized. People from many cultures have various characteristics. Some are good communicators, some are industrious, some are innovative, and some are hard workers, such that Bay Area businesses have long sought to find a method to integrate various abilities and collaborate as a team. And any sort of discrimination are strongly prohibited. Actually, it's easier said than done to be inclusive. By now, they still have many co-workers continues to complain about one another due to the cultural differences. My secret to be able to quickly adjust to the multicultural working environment and perform well is follow the advice my sifu gave me. To build up a good relationship proactively, I work hard to understand colleagues from all over the world. Because of this, I have been able to tolerate and embrace their diverse cultures, while still seeing the wonderful qualities in them. Working together become much easier as a result. Sifu's insight helped me stand out fast in such a competitive environment. and I have been promoted 5 times in only 9 years. I'm very grateful to be a Taijiman Dizi, and Sifu has led Dizi to over 100 countries to promote cultural peace with love and conscience. My Sifu states, with conscience comes a peaceful world. Conscience is a crucial component in the integration of diverse cultures, as well as the establishment of equal dialogue and development. However, Taijimen started to be persecuted in 1996. Prosecutor Ho Kuan-ren wrongfully prosecuted Taijimen using a series of illegal measures, as well as bogus witnesses and evidence. The National Taxation Bureau, without conducting an investigation in accordance with its authority, utilized an estimating approach to issue illegal and sky-high tax bills, treating Taijimen as a crime school, based only on the unlawful indictment. In 2007, the Supreme Court found the defendants innocent of all charges and found no tax evasion or violation of the Tax Collection Act after 10 years and 3 months of court processes. According to the law, the illegal tax bills arising from the criminal case should have been revoked as soon as the not guilty criminal decision was issued. However, as everybody knows, the illegal tax bills was not canceled, and a tax officer, even in public, stated, the court's ruling does not count. The illegal tax officers failed to perform their duties as a public servants and violate the rule of law and our human rights. Furthermore, the power of a tax authority overweighs that of a court. Because of this absurdity, this case of injustice has been dragged on for more than 25 years and is still unsolved. What more outrageous is that August 2020, government illegally and forcefully auctioned Taijimen's land, which was supposed to be a site of Taijimen Academy, and the people's freedom of belief and the basic dignity of humanity was trampled down by the state machine. Taiwanese government has neither obeyed the law nor listened to the voice of its citizens for the past 25 years. It shocks me because Taiwan is supposed to be a democratic country that follows the rule of law. Growing up in Taiwan, I was able to enjoy my freedom of a citizen of a democratic country. However, a small group of dishonest government officials can take everything away and deceive the people. Giving red envelope to my sifu is part of my freedom of belief. It's a tradition in Chinese culture. The red envelopes are considered gifts in Taiwanese law and thus are tax-free. Now and the future, the world requires more love and peace. Mutual trust and love among people are the foundations of peace. When the government wrongfully persecutes its people, mutual trust between the government and its citizens begins to erode. How can the world be at peace when this happens? In honor of World Day of Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development, I really hope Taiwanese government can fix its mistakes in Taijimen tax case, listen to the people's voice, and return justice to Taijimen. The government should be just, apologize, and return the land which was illegally taken to Taijimen. Taiwan should demonstrate it's a mature and healthy democracy that is people-centered and adhere to the rule of law. Global safety and sustainability are based on the collective effort of rational and lawful world citizens, no matter how small a good deed may appear. And regardless of one's socio-economic status, every act of kindness contributes to the world's cultural diversity and development. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jason. Now, before we move next to the questions and answers and conclusions with Marco, we have a final witness, Ms. Nunutun, who is connected from the United States. Nunutun, the floor is yours, please.
My name is Nunutun. I come from Myanmar and now I live in California, USA. The global COVID-19 pandemic is serious. Before the vaccine came out, the United States was in a very precarious state and people were disturbed. The global environment is deteriorating and people's hearts are becoming dim and full of negative emotions. When I was young, I saw that most people, even those in the same family, were full of anger and greed for enjoyment, which results in hatred, jealousy, and selfishness. It was very sad. I often think quietly, and under the influence of the general environment, I have done a lot of bad things unknowingly. In 1995, I was 34 years old. I started practicing Qigong with Master Sifu in Taijimen because of my unhealthy mind and body. In Taijimen, I learned how to keep myself healthy. And I can also learn mindful Kung Fu and gain positive energy. Our Sifu in Taijimen constantly teaches us the highest philosophical thought of mankind so that we understand true cultivation. Reflect on ourselves every day and practice Taijimen Qigong to stabilize my mood. So I know how to cherish the people around me and I am more and more capable of speaking and doing nice things. I find love and peace in Taijimen. My Sifu, Dr. Hong Daozi, established the Academy and the Federation of World Peace and Love in California in 2000. Sifu actively spreads the thoughts of love and peace through cultural exchanges, salon ceremony of ringing the bell of world peace and love, and various ways to promote world peace. In order to unite more people with the same vision, people from different racial and cultural backgrounds do good deeds through cultural exchanges. Sifu also held the Love and Peace World Leadership Summit and invited leaders from all over the world to ring the bell. The consolidated positive energy has inspired more people to work together for world peace for future generations. I have received many opportunities to do good deeds. During this process, I got rid of my bad habits, awakened my conscience, and learned to modify myself so that I can live a meaningful life every day. Through the Taijimen website, I also share my self-reflection and life improvement stories with people all over the world, so that more people can truly learn about the happiness and blessing of self-cultivation. I learned to not only love myself, but also love people. I'm very grateful to my Sifu. Because I am a Taijimen Dizi disciple, so although I am commoner and a caregiver, I'm fortunate to be able to follow Sifu to participate in many cultural exchanges and performances, such as the national celebrations in Taiwan, the United Nations in New York, and annual meetings in South Korea and Salt Lake City. Our mission is to convey love and peace with conscience, culture of conscience, and to draw different countries in the world closer. Through this, everyone's conscience can be awakened so that all living beings can achieve peace. Because of Sifu, the value and the meaning of my life have been enriched. Taijimen is a martial art and Qigong manpai, similar to the school that cultivates the soul and heart to save ourselves and others. When my relatives and friends see my happiness and youthfulness, they also want to be happy like me. However, the Taijimen fabricated case occurred on December 19 in 1996, when a prosecutor's forced prosecution caused many media in Taiwan to publish false news reports. Many of my relatives and friends did not even dare to come to Taijimen to cultivate themselves, and some of them were not well conditioned physically and mentally. A good friend of mine wants to be as happy as I am, but the news of the fake Taijimen case made her afraid of coming to Taijimen. Unfortunately, she chose to take her life at such a young age. I'm really sad and so sorry for this. Taijimen did not own taxes. The tax bills that should not have existed in the beginning. It illegally hunted down people for 25 years and even illegally auctioned the predetermined places for our dojo where disabled would practice. The National Taxation Bureau and the Administrative Executive Office seriously violate the law. Taiwan's tax authorities are greedy for bonus, and they will not hesitate to fabricate fake tax bills by all illegal means. I feel really sad. They even ignore the fact that Taijimen was innocent, adjudged by the Supreme Court in the third instance. We had no tax evasion and no violation of the tax collection law. And all the innocent defendants received compensation from the state. Taijimen has won 18 times in the tax relief. Illegal tax bills should have been ended. Why did the NDP ignore the judicial decision? The director of the Miaoli branch from NDP of the Central District said in public that the court's judgment did not count, only to make us realize that the tax collectors' attitude towards the judicial decision was so contemptuous. The Taiwan Administrative Execution Office also forced auction of the reserved land of Taijimen, Sifu, and Dizi. The land was forcibly nationalized after bidding. Why are they so domineering? At the stage, many countries are suffering from severe epidemics, natural and man-made disasters, unrest in the world, government corruption, killing people, and persecuting human rights, etc. I am blessed to awaken my conscience every day and use the internet and various social media to spread online informations, activities, and seafood homes, speeches to promote the International Day of Conscience. I'm willing to awaken the conscience of the world and promote world peace so that we can return to the peaceful world. Our Taijimen Dizis at home and abroad request the Taiwan government to revoke the fake tax bills of Taijimen. We hope that the Taiwan government will respect the people and put the people in priority. Do the right things with a culture of conscious love and peace. All things are related to the conscience. For those in power, the country will be peaceful and the people will be peaceful with their conscience. On the contrary, the world will be in chaos if there is no conscience. for an individual. There will be happiness and a truly healthy body, mind, and soul with conscience. We sincerely pay tribute to the Taiwan government, hoping that they fulfill the government's responsibilities and the Taijiman injustice case, care for the people, support the people for a happy, healthy life, and be a model country in the world.
Thank you very much, Nunutun. So we have concluded the witnesses' sessions. And
Thank you
we are
very
now...
much. Thank you very
Please,
much,
Camelia.
Alessandro, and thank you very much to all the witnesses. And it was impressive to hear all the stories, and I'm sure that there are many more. And now we'll go to the third part of our webinar today, the part of the questions and answers and conclusions. For this, we will invite Mr. Marco Respinti to guide this session. Marco Respinti is an Italian professional journalist, translator, and lecturer. He serves as the director in charge of the online scholarly The Journal of CESNUR, and also for Bitter Winter, which is a magazine of religious liberty and human rights, which is also published online by CESNUR. And continuing the, let's say, explanation that I offered regarding introducing Alessandro Amicarelli, also Mr. Respinti is part of European Federation for Freedom of Belief, being a member of the advisory board. Mr. Respinti, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Marin. It's a pleasure to always be a part of the program Defending Justice and Truth. So it's my honor to introduce the last section of our webinar, and I'm sure that from today and previous webinars we have learned so many important details and acquired so many relevant perspectives. But two basic things are quite clear. The power to tax is a formidable asset to do good to a society, which turns into a great evil when misused. And the second is that Taijiman is by no means an enemy of the Taiwanese state. It is a peaceful and patriotic movement. Taiwan should thus repair as soon as possible to the misdeeds that some probably corrupted, at least ideological officer did and does to these innocent people. We have several interesting questions, so I do pray to manage the time in answering, because they kind of cover broad questions. So without introduction, I go to the first question, which is for Mr. Willy Fautré, and one of our listener asks, are there similar organizations also protesting the misuse of tax laws, particularly against religious minorities in Europe?
Yes, thank you for this question. No, there are no specific human rights organizations dealing with that specific issue, but as it was the case with Jehovah's Witnesses and other religious minorities in France several years ago, there were human rights organizations which took sides with the victims and tried to help them in one way or another. There was five, I think, such minorities in France that were victims of the system. And when I say victims, it was on purpose that the tax laws were used to discriminate them and try to destroy their movements in one way or another. But fortunately, by applying to the European Court of Human Rights, they managed to win their case. And I guess there are also other religious and belief groups around the world that are victims of taxation systems, persecuted. So I mean, well, willfully persecuted by some powers, whether it is the state or other movements, religious movements that are in the majority, maybe, that see them as competitors.
Thank you, Mr. Fautré. The next question goes to one of our witnesses, our Dizis today, to Ms. Erica Wu. And the question is, do you believe cultural diversity is not appreciated in contemporary Taiwan? And for why? And do you think that Taijimen is persecuted for this lack of appreciation of cultural diversity, and why?
Well, I think it's a process. I think in the past, because there has been religious, there has been like news going around and like maybe some political aim towards religious groups, so that there might be a sentiment around certain religious movements or even spiritual movements. But I think recently, or we're trying to create a more diverse and a more appreciative culture of like of cultural diversity. And I think, but personally, because regarding like the Taijimen case, there has still been some fake news going around on internet, and that is certainly not helping with the situation. And for me, I'm concerned as well because of maybe like the political motives that goes behind it, but which is why that Taijimen has been going around in the local community as well as the global community promoting this cultural diversity. So we're really trying to get everyone's conscience awakened so that we can all appreciate each other's cultures more respectively. Yeah.
Thank you. There is a question also for our coordinator today, Ms. Camelia Marin. You mentioned, Ms. Marin, the symbolic role of the heart, but it seems that opposing injustice and persecution by simply appealing to the heart, love and peace, as Taijimen does, is not effective. Is our world possibly too cynical for the heart? How can we promote a culture of the heart in such a difficult world as the one we live into?
I'll begin my answer just reminding about Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi was even defending the British Army just with the power of his love and wisdom. And that's a wonderful example in the history, and it's not the only one, but that's the most relevant that I have now in my memory. And always, as I mentioned in my explanation, Pascal was speaking about the fact that we cannot ever solve a conflict from the level of where the conflict started, meaning if it is an issue regarding material level or, I don't know, conflict of emotions or material aspects, things, that one cannot be solved on that level. We need to go on a superior level. The superior level is always coming with another aspect. For example, if the conflict comes from the mind, rational thinking or judging, always the heart is the superior level. And that's why we are invoking the heart. When the heart comes into the picture, the differences between cultures, between religions and so on, start to melt. The wisdom of the heart, as we can say it, it's so important always to come into the picture. Those who are the representatives of the states, those which are punishing or judging or making for 25 years investigations and requiring so perseverant to receive taxes from Taijimen, they are human beings. If also they will start going a little more into the heart, that will become relevant, and the frequency of vibration, the change will start to grow. What Taijimen does, and Dr. Hong is doing in his speech, is this encouragement to focus into the love and to search for the peace. That is a way of moving or spreading this understanding. So my answer to this question is never give up to put heart first. And whenever is a fight, be the first one asking for forgiveness or just embracing the other one in your heart. That action will melt the opposition. The opposition cannot exist if we don't oppose. The opposition, the one creating a conflict, creating I don't know what problem, will just disappear in the moment when actually we don't oppose to that one and we stand for our principles in life. This is my answer. I hope that I covered the question. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for this warm answer, and this demonstrates the peaceful nature, intrinsic peaceful nature of those of all these kind of protest against injustice. We protest, and Taiwan people protest against injustice, but in a very peaceful and quiet way. There is a question also for Professor Introvigne, who touched upon the Roman Empire fiscal system and publicans. And one of our listeners asks, are we not supposed to have a better tax system than the Roman Empire, one that should precisely avoid the problems of the publicans?
I hope you can hear me. I have some works at home in the background. But anyway, I believe there is a technical answer and a more general answer. The technical answer is that the tax farming publican system did not disappear with the Roman Empire. Of course, it was a great system in the Ottoman Empire, but existed more or less everywhere. Italy only eliminated the tax farming system and the private tax collectors in 1990, and they were replaced by a government-owned company called Equitalia. And here comes the second part of my answer, that I saw the face of Marco Respinti. Equitalia was not less unpopular than the private tax collectors. It was actually more unpopular, so they had to change its name, but more or less the same people are still there. So my general answer is we have the idea that the private tax collectors were very corrupted, but agencies of tax collection which are part of the government are less corrupted. Well, the bad news is that's not necessarily the case. Actually, it's possible that governmental officers are equally corrupted than private people. And Taiwan is a case in point. And I'm very glad to hear from Willy Fautré's speech that the Tax Law and Reform League proposed to eliminate the bonus system, because the bonus system gives money directly to government bureaucrats, but sometimes with the bonus system, the tax bureaucrats employed by the government, they also get rewards for the tax they collect. And since they have a sort of presumption that being government officers, they are more honest or less corrupted, the risk is they are equally induced to pocket money and to assess taxation based on what they will get in their own pockets, but at the same time they are less controlled. So I believe it's part of sort of a philosophy of collectivism, a philosophy positing that state officers are always better than private people, that we don't solve. It's a mistake to believe that simply taking the tax collecting function out of private hands and putting it in the hands of state bureaucrats, we have solved the problem of the corruption. In fact, the Taijimen tax case proves that that's not the case, and particularly the bonus system perpetuates the risk of corruption and injustice. So we cannot paint the history of world's tax systems in black and white, saying these systems are bad when collection is through private publicans or collectors, and the system is good when collection is through government bureaucrats. Because in both systems, there can be checks and balances. Like I mentioned, it existed in the Roman Republic when the system of publicans was created, and were less effective in the Roman Empire, particularly in the last centuries. So there can be problems with the private collectors, and there can be problems with the public collectors. So passing from private to public doesn't solve the problem. The problem is solved by a broader tax justice and tax fairness, which is lacking in our system. And another very short comment that's kind of provocative. It says, do we have a better tax system than the Roman Empire? Well, I'm not sure if we look at the pressure. At the time of the empire, some Roman jurists found it a big scandal that people were deprived of 25% of their money by the state, and according to the highest administrative court in Italy, by 2020, the average tax pressure on an Italian citizen was 48.8%. So if we look at quantity, we are in much worse shape than the citizens of the Roman Empire, at least in Italy, but in many other European countries, the situation is very much the same.
Thank you so much also for vindicating the Italian taxpayer. And there is another question that possibly could be the last one, and it's open to people who may want to reply, respond, or have suggestion. And someone is asking, are there Taiwanese MPs, member of parliaments, who have made proposal for changing the Taiwan taxation system, whether or not their attempts were inspired by the Taijimen campaigns and situation? So maybe some of our witness Dizi experts may want to, if they have any information about possible Taiwanese MPs proposing reform.
I think it's an important question, because Taijimen should identify MPs that could take sides with them about abuses of the taxation system by, well, whoever it might be. It's important because then they could build up a strategy to propose draft laws or amendments to the existing laws and so on. And maybe there is no expert present for the moment, but they should keep that in mind for their campaigns in the near future.
Yeah, the silence that followed the question drives me to think that possibly we don't know, or there are no MPs working in that direction. And as Mr. Fautré was just saying, I'm no advisor at all, but that could be one direction toward which the Taijimen campaign for justice, fiscal justice, could move in the near future, finding and targeting, in the good sense, some of the Taiwanese MPs and work with them to propose step by step. We know that a Jacobin approach doesn't go anywhere if you want to destroy everything in one night, but step by step, moving forward to some kind of taxation that can relieve a little bit the sufferance of these people, and then eventually down the line reverse the whole situation. We just have. Oh, go ahead.
Yes, and just on the same lines, that piece by piece to try to erode through the legal system the unfair system of taxation, and I'm sure that such a movement would rally more and more external forces from other victims, whether they are persons or associations and companies, and that could have a snowball effect, because then it would be in the media and not necessarily linked to Taijimen, but become a broader issue and be on the radar of the Taiwanese media, and to make it an issue that should be debated publicly by all the actors who want to join the debate.
It is a very wise consideration and thought. We have half to 1 minute for any other final comment if someone has. Otherwise, I get back the microphone to Camelia for the final conclusions. Thank you.
If there are no other questions, comments, thank you very much to all of you. It was a very wonderful event, full of insights, and we can learn a lot from this experience, each of us. And also, we very much encourage Taijimen to go further in their trip, I can say, for defending their rights. And of course, we are here to also keep going, supporting you in the way that we can. And let's meet for another occasion, also to celebrate the fact that you receive back all your assets and everything is ended in a wonderful way for Taijimen. Thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Camelia.
Thank you.
Thank you, Camelia. Thank you all.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you and bye-bye.